Good day. Formalist approach. It is an approach in literary criticism which aims to examine the form of a literary work as a whole, how words are structured, and the arrangement of language. Next, information about the poem chosen. I have chosen Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. It is a very short poem. It only has one stanza with 8 lines, and it talks about the impermanence of life, that anything pure, fresh, and beautiful will eventually fade away. Next, the process. So first, I followed the guidelines or checklists provided in the material, and then I evaluated the poem as to how it is structured, how Frost constructed the poem, his word choice, the language used, and if there are literary devices used by Frost in the poem. So next, the poem, a formalist approach to Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay. So the poem Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost expresses mortality and the impermanence of life and beauty through the use of metaphors such as season, nature, and even the Garden of Eden to imply the transience of all that is good, pure, and beautiful. So first, let's dive into the structure of the poem. Um, the speaker, let us note that first, that the speaker of the poem is unknown. No one is mentioned, but only the message of the poem, which is all about the universal truth about life and its impermanence, is conveyed. The poem consists of one stanza of 8 lines, uh, and that makes up the poem. Only one stanza with 8 lines, but these 8 lines can be divided into four rhyming couplets. And the rhyme scheme of the poem follows the AA, BB, CC, and DD rhyme scheme. And the poem as well follows the iambic trimeter. So let's now move on to the poem itself. First line, nature's first green is gold refers to the golden hue of the first leaves and fresh buds of trees in early spring. The word gold in the first sentence represents purity, beauty, and freshness, similar to that of a newborn child meeting the world for the first time. Next line, her hardest hue to hold. Now, nature here on the second line is personified by Frost. He referred nature to as her, which is a pronoun used to refer to a woman. And this is about, and the second line refers to, just like how a mother would try to stop the child from growing up, caring for the child and all. Third line, her early leaves a flower. It depicts the maturity of the fresh buds, much like how a child grows and matures swiftly from a youngster to a teenager. This phase too does not last indefinitely. Impermanence is expressed again in the fourth line. But only so an hour. Now the fourth line depicts the how quick change can occur and how things can fade away quickly. Next line we have, then leaf subsides to leaf. The fifth line says, it implies that life progresses on in the same way that a child goes through several periods in his existence. And on the sixth line, Frost makes a biblical connection. So Eden sank to grief. This implies that in the past, the Garden of Eden was a land of purity, free of sin and pain. As lovely as it may sound, it too came an end. So dawn goes down to day. This is the seventh line, and this simply implies that after a long and wonderful day, dawn joins us as night passes and will only pass us by before we are met by a whole new day. Frost then concludes the poem with the poem's most famous phrase, "Nothing gold can stay," which basically means that everything that is pure and beautiful will inevitably fade away. Now, moving on to the literary devices used in the poem, we have metaphor, used by Frost to imply comparison. We have nature in the fall season were used as a metaphor to convey the impermanence of life and everything beautiful. Personification is also present in the poem, where Frost personified nature, referring to it as her. Next, consonance is evident in the poem, specifically in the line, "So dawn goes down today." The sound "na" is repeated. Then, assonance, which can be observed in the same line but with the sound "the" being repeated. Next, imagery, which is heavily utilized in the poem, such as in the line, "Nature's first green is gold, and then leaf subsides to leaf." Then we have symbolism, which is used by the writer, such as gold representing purity, beauty, and happiness, and green symbolizing nature. Next, we have paradox. This is a device used by Frost, such as in the line, "Her early leaves a flower." Allusion is also present in the poem, such as in the line, "So Eden sank to grief," which is an indirect reference to indicate that our world too, together with the beauty, happy memories, purity, and freshness, is also only transient. Lastly, anaphora, such as in the lines 2 to 3, as in, "Her heart is to you to hold, and her early leaves a flower," and lines 6 to 7, "So Eden sank to grief, and so dawn goes down today." So that ends my presentation. Thank you.